Absolutely.
Hell yeah. It's the first time is the best. Welcome to our Quebec radio show Prescription Punk Rock. For people that don't recognize your beautiful hat, beautiful face, who the hell are you?
What's up, guys? My name is Tony Lovato, and I sing and play guitar in a pop punk band called Mest.
Tony, welcome. It's a huge honor. I love the project since day one. I saw the evolution of it, and it's a thing that I always enjoy seeing band grow up, but getting better in their art. And I think the new single is another example of something that you really master, and it's a good song. But before getting to that, I'm curious. Let's get back to when you were a kid. How did you start discovering music, and were there people around you that influence you, parents or friends or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I grew up in a music household, so to speak. My father was in cover bands and shit like that. Always had guitars around the house. I remember, growing up, I grew up in the Midwest, so in Chicago, we have basements in the house. So every basement that I mean, I grew up in two different houses, but we always had drum sets and guitars and amps and shit like that. And I remember going to my dad's band practices when I was really young. And then yeah, just sort of spiraled from there, whereas you'd go downstairs and start fucking around with your friends or cousins. My brother learned to play, and I think when I was 7, my brother and my cousin were both 9, and we started our first little band. And I tried playing guitar. It was way too hard. I was 7 years old, and then sort of quit doing that and started banging on the drums. 'Cause it's just an instrument that I think kids, when they're that young, can fuck around with, and it's like you can you can play a 1-2 beat, and all of a sudden you're playing an instrument. So it's real exciting. So it keeps you going. Yes, I jumped into drums at a very young age, and then decided like I wanted to learn guitar again when I was a little bit older and learned into that. But yeah, I mean, definitely, it was a family orientated thing. That's where it was definitely sparked from was my old man for sure.
It's so cool. Like Christmas are so awesome when everybody like can jam.
Yeah, it's crazy is I actually have like one of one of my I don't know why, but like my oldest memories was being at my uncle's house, which technically is the house that my father grew up in. Um, and I remember like at Christmas where like I think it was my Aunt Lisa could play the piano a little bit. And I remember like my dad had 11 brothers and sisters, so family parties were massive, all the cousins and shit. And I remember like them playing Christmas songs around. And as a little kid, it was like weird to see like your older relatives like playing instruments and singing shit, like it was, but yeah, it was really cool, man, for sure.
And the thing when you start up young, like, cause like it's getting to know an instrument. It's the first year. If you pass the first 2 years, then you're good. People mostly stop or stop trying playing or learn an instrument at the beginning because they got frustrated of not playing or they got lesson and they got bored. But when you got people around you, you see that it's a jam, a flow or something. And when you're a kid, you don't have the pressure or anything to, you just want to bang and have fun. And then like those mistakes, you don't make them. And I think you learn maybe faster in a way, and you realize that it's all about the fun and not like being perfect musician.
Well, definitely, like when you said it, it totally makes sense because, but being like you said, being around it for me, there was definitely, I always say this, like I've talked about this in other interviews, like there were years where I like rebelled against music because there was sort of the rule in the household, like if you want to go downstairs and play music, you could go downstairs and be loud as fucking house. It didn't matter. If you were doing that, like parents never complained about it. So I, as a younger kid, as my brother progressed and learned how to play the guitar, and I sort of knew the drums a little bit. He would want me to come downstairs when his friends would come over or something and play drums for him so he could play guitar. And it was sort of like a forced thing. So I actually ended up rebelling and not really liking the concept of playing music, and like because it was forced upon me in a way, like my brother would make me do shit. And so I definitely rebelled against music for a couple of years, and I was like, I don't know, like eventually you just give in, I guess, or maybe I realized that I did like it or something. But there was definitely those years where I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, it's always loud in the fucking house. There's always music going. So it was just like one of those things where I was like, it annoyed me more than anything. But obviously, eventually I gave in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's when you learn that it's kind of, you know, you get to phase and then you realize, and you get old and you're getting nostalgic and you think about that and it's good memories. But back in the days, every time like, oh fuck that noise tonight, I don't want to hear anything.
Yeah. Like I was complaining about the noise, my parents didn't give a shit. So that's where I was at. As a kid, I was like, this is too much, man. But yeah, definitely gave back in.
And I'm curious, do you remember the first gig you ever did?
Um, what's funny is so in pure DIY fashion, we decided when we were in this little metal band called Fallen Angels when I was like 7 and my cousin and my brother were 9, that we were gonna do a concert for the kids in the neighborhood. So we charged like 25 cents to get in, and maybe there's like 10 kids there. And all we did was play fucking like we knew like Rolling Stone songs and Judas Priest or like Ozzy Osbourne, like, but I was playing the guitar like a bass, like I couldn't play chords, I was playing single note. So my cousin's playing single note bass too, obviously. It was fucking terrible, obviously. But we probably played like 6 songs, and I remember we've been telling the story for years. Like we always, so we gave like a little piece of paper and a pen out to everybody in the crowd, and they're like, leave us notes, like what you think about the band or whatever. And like pretty much like every single one said that I just couldn't sing. So that was like the general consensus of the concert was that I couldn't sing. So still trying though.
You were so ahead of your time of getting like,
Yeah.
you know, those critic when you open Facebook or Instagram and people
100%.
complaining about the show, like you throw them like, here's a paper, here's a pants, man. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I was
On the
getting
first
trolled.
gig, you know.
Right. I was getting trolled in 1987, put it that way.
Come on, people. It was the first gig. People are
Yeah.
hard.
Just fucking diminishing a 7-year-old, dude. Just no fucking, but they were other 7-year-olds, so it doesn't matter.
So for people that may be unaware of the story with Mass, how did you guys met up and how that crazy idea started up?
So yeah, I mean, Mest was sort of an evolution of that for the most part. Starting out that young, and then having like me, my brother, and my cousin, that's enough to be in a band, right? So um we would always fuck around. I remember like, I don't know, maybe when I was in 4th grade was the first time that I told my dad, I'm like, hey, I want to write a song. So my dad sat down with me and we actually like constructed and wrote a full song, and like we have it somewhere like on cassette because we had to like play it live at the same time, like that was back in the day. um but eventually, me and my brother, and then who eventually replaced my brother in Mass was Jeremiah. Me and my brother Jeremiah, and there was another kid that they knew from high school. We had like this grunge sort of band called Cosmic Frogs. I was in 7th grade at that point, and my brother was sophomore or something. And we had originals, but we also did like fucking Pearl Jam and some random shit like that. Um, and then from there, it was a couple years later is when we decided to start Mest. And again, it was me, my brother, and my cousin. Um, one drummer who was in the band for a month or something, and then we finally got Nick through one of my friends. We had a mutual friend was my buddy, Fat Guy. Fat Guy Mest. A lot of people in the Mest world know who he is. They were in a band together, Aaron and Nick, and so that band had broken up. So I asked Aaron, I'm like, hey, can I ask Nick to play drums for us? And eventually Aaron connected us, and that was when we formed. And that was like October of '95 was our first show that we ever did. And so from there, it was about 3 years. My brother was in the band, and then it was just like the fucking Oasis story of two brothers in a band. You know what I mean? Like, and it was like we just didn't mesh in a band well. Like, it was sort of like almost having like two lead singers, but he also like we had an idea and a direction of what we wanted to do with the band, and my brother was going off of that a little bit and sort of wanted to explore in like different types of music, and it wasn't really where we were at yet musically. What we wanted to do, we just wanted to be a fucking punk band, a punk ska band, like that was um so after like him being out of the band, then in the band, and then we were a three-piece for a while. Eventually I just hit up Jeremiah and asked him if he wanted to join and fill in for Steve, and so he did. And then that was Mest for like the next fuck, if I did the math, 8 years, 9 years.
Something
I
like
mean,
that, yeah.
but what's crazy is like, there was the original lineup of Mast. Well, there's been a couple original lineups. With my brother was actually part of the original lineup. Then Jeremiah joined in. Um, and it's crazy. Most people know that the original lineup because that's when we did like 4 records right out of the gate. Since then, we've done 3 or 4 records. I have to look at the discography of us. I don't even fucking know. But like the band has been different longer than it was that lineup at this point. Because we've been a band for, at least for me, it's been 28 years or something, starting in 95. So there's been members that have been in the band for at one point 10 years that are no longer part of the band. And all the people that were in the band and incorporated and either written songs with me or toured with me, like all those guys, I'm still good friends with, and either they're doing other music ventures or like for whatever reason it may be, like couldn't be in the band anymore. But it was never like, it's not like dudes coming in and out of the band because we don't get along, which there's a lot of bands out there now currently even touring where it's like I just see members being replaced constantly. And being in the business, I know the fucking inside stories of the bands. And it's like, yeah, the singer's a fucking asshole. Nobody really likes him. He's just feeding them for the time being. But like for me, when it comes to playing in a band with people, because I grew up with the guys, the original guys from 6 years old, met Nick when I was 14, and it's like for me playing music in a band and being in a band and spending that much time together, you have to get along with everybody. Like more than anything, that's the number one fucking thing. Personalities have to match. And like the guys that I've been with for the past 5 years, it's like it just for me it's feels good again because it reminds me of like when that original lineup of Mest was still fun and everything was exciting and people weren't fucking jaded yet. And no pun intended. And it just got to that point, and that's why the original lineup did separate, is because a couple of the guys were just over it. Like they were getting a little bit older. My cousin was having his first kid. Jeremiah really didn't like touring anymore. And it was like, it wasn't really, I always told myself if the band stopped being fun, no matter what the situation, that I'd be done. And I fucking held true to that, and it was just like we had just released our fourth record and we had a Japan tour lined up and a tour in the States. And we were about to, promote that record. And I was just like, it just didn't feel right anymore. And
Yeah,
so
and,
like
and there's so much thing involved when you're in a band. First of all, when you start, you're kids, so you don't know the business, and all
for
you want
sure.
to do is play and have fun, and sometimes do the party. It's normal. You're in your 20s, and then
Right.
you're in your 40s, and things have changed, and with kids and everything. So some people part ways, and it's normal, and it's a great point because people like drama, but mostly the band I speak with, they all friends or over with times they bury the hatchet because we
For
were
sure.
drunk, we were stupid, whatever the reason. And there was money when you started up. It was possible to still have a label behind you that throw money. Now things are so different. Mostly band are doing the DIY thing. And so the technology is there also, and you still need the support, but not the same way that back in the days. So
For sure.
yeah, and it's all about the music after all when you look at it. So it's cool that you guys still do it and have fun. And yeah, I felt that that lineup is really strong. There's a beautiful chemistry. Like I said, you're getting older. You know what you want and what you don't want.
For sure. And there have been people that I've worked with that have come and did a tour or something that it was like me sort of being the front man and the leader of the band at this point, holding down the fort for 28 years. If somebody comes into the group, whether it be a worker or somebody that's filling in for a tour for whatever reason, and they're doing something to disrupt the harmony of the band, unfortunately it's my job to be the asshole. And like I don't want to tell somebody like, hey dude, you're done. You got to go home. And it's like having these conversations with people. There was a real awkward situation years ago where we had to drop somebody off at the airport, and I had to wake this dude up out of my bed and be like, yo, dude, we need to talk. Long conversation with him. I'm explaining everything to him, just like, I normally wouldn't do this. I'm like, but it's disrupting. It's like everybody else is uncomfortable. And the problem was that he was drinking a lot and the playing, it was disrupting the shows too. So besides the, if you're not doing your job, that's one thing. But then if you're also making other people feel uncomfortable, and I got everybody coming to me going, dude, like you're doing this, you're doing that. And I'm just like, and I'm just trying to be the peacekeeper of it all. And and having to tell him like, hey, like this just it just isn't working out, and I remember like he after this fucking 20-minute conversation with this dude, I'm explaining the whole thing to him, right? Trying to be as gentle as I can, just like it's nothing personal between me and you, but I've got to run this ship, and make sure everybody's happy, everything. He goes, well, it's all good, man. All right, we'll figure this out. We'll figure this out. And I was like, what? I'm like, did you not just hear the past 15, 20 minutes? And I go, no, dude, you're going home. Like you have to go home. And he's like, well, when? And like, shit, like it was like a movie. Yeah. Like I look over to my right and we're going into the airport. And I was like, right now. And it was like, we just had to, and I was like, yo, dude, sorry. I'm like, take your suitcase. I'm like, I'll bring everything else home for you. Like, and I felt terrible, but like reality is like, if it's not working, it's not working. And to like cover a wound over and over again, it's not going to help the shows. It's not going to help the morale of the band and everything. So, but yeah, man, that's why when you find guys that you get along with, like all my like Gary and his family, like we're friends, like our families, our wives are friends, like my buddy Devin, who's playing guitar for me now, he grew up in Chicago as a Mest fan. He's been an acquaintance of like friends of friends for years. And finally, I just called this dude out of the blue and I was like, yo, I need a guitarist. You know some Mest songs, right? And he's like, yeah, I pretty much know all of them. And it was like, I think a month later, he started with us. And it's just like, when you get along with people and you have fun doing what you do and they enjoy it as much as you do, that's what makes it worth it. And so it's cool to be back in that position again, like making fucking rad music that I'm proud of, touring with dudes that enjoy touring and having a good, happy, I'm fucking 43. Like I gotta have a good environment around me in order for me to want to do this, to leave my fucking family for, weeks at a time. Like there has to be a reason to do it.
Yeah, and it's such another good point. You don't want to tour 8 months, like missing all those great moments in their life and having a bad time, asking
Right.
yourself like every time, what the fuck
Why,
am I doing? And
why am
we're
I doing?
such in an interesting time in music. Of course, when you release Masquerade, I think it was 2020. It was
Yeah.
the end of the world for 2 years.
Yeah.
So like I think that there's something in the air, and like bands like you that always been accurate over all those records, I think the 7 records, people want some shifting in the headliners, and it feel like right that Mess are having that amount of love, and there's still more fans, and that's crazy after all those years. You think like, okay, with the first lineup would peak and then it's gonna be like that. But like the thing is
Right.
it's going just bigger, and with the new single it's a good example. Like everybody excited and it's great. I think that people want new music and want to have fucking fun. And I think
For
that's
sure.
always been that soundtrack.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. And that's like, I mean, we just did a tour with our good friends at Bowling for Soup back last fall. And they're like their type of fans, like they're obviously pop punk fans and that type of shit. But they're the type of fan base that like if you put on a good show in front of them, you'll earn every one of those. Like some bands, fans, it's like they're the fucking diehards and they're the fucking what's punk and what's not and that type of shit. And being able to play in front of that many people that have heard of us, maybe never seen us, only knew a song, like it was insane like how many fans we got out of that tour. And to be able to do that, it's like, and then, we obviously had the fans that have seen us 50 times. And one of the main comments and compliments that we got on that tour was, just being honest, that I've seen you guys 30 times since day one. And not lying, this was the best you guys have ever played and sounded. And like hearing that, I'm like, because I feel like with the original lineup, dude, we played tight together. We grew up together. Like those are some big shoes to fill, and I know that. So, and the guys know this that come and play with me now. So it's like I'm like, what our shows are about live. Like, so if you're gonna step into this role, like you have to step into this role, and everybody has seamlessly, which is awesome. But yeah, getting that compliment is like, you, because after fucking 28 years of being in a band, people expect the band to like, yeah, they're up there and they're playing their songs. And even if the crowd's a little bit older and still just standing there, I'm up there doing what I did when I was 20. I'm jumping off the fucking speakers and we're jumping, you know what I mean? Like I'm still putting on the show because I feel like if they're coming out and taking their time off, maybe got a babysitter, whatever it is, to come see, or this opportunity that they came to see Bowling for Soup, and I have the opportunity to show what we have in front of them. I have to put on that fucking show, and it's like the stuck in 3 back surgeries and a missing part of my spine and the surgeries on my knees. Like they're just gonna have to wait till nighttime and some aspirin, and I'll deal with that shit then. Like yeah, you definitely gotta use these opportunities that you get at this late in the game.
Let's talk about dedication.
Gotta keep it going, man. Gotta keep the lights on,
Yeah, show must go on, but that's crazy. You're
right?
right. Mess is a hell of a beast live, and it's tough to reproduce that energy when you're in the studio. And I think you really achieved that. When Masquerade was released, I was like, "Wow, man, it's another level again." And each records you try, I think you push yourself like you do live. So it's hard to recreate that energy, but I think you achieved that. But every time we felt that, wow, can't wait to hear those songs live. And with your energy, the crowd energy is just like it. It's still a huge bomb.
Yeah, and that was a bummer about Masquerade was that I was pretty fucking stoked on that record. I felt like it was like another growth for Mest, but still like keeping our ties to Mest. But like, when you're doing everything sort of DIY for the most part, except for like the fan funding thing, which was rad and was huge. It to do all that touring that we did in 2019, we did 4 national tours, which was awesome. And that was previous to the record coming out. And I'm like, all right, cool. Tons of touring, let people know a new record's coming, put out the record, and then sat on the couch. Like, and for a band like us, that makes a record fail no matter what. Yeah, there's nothing we can do. So like, I mean, we try to release the music videos to keep people knowing about the record, but if you're not out there touring and playing in front of people, like I always say it's like sort of like a wasted record. And it got to the point where I was like, there's nothing really I can do besides sort of bite the bullet and write another record. And that's why 2 years ago I started. I was like, all right, it's time to do this again.
Yeah, you took something negative to something positive, and you wrote that record with rage, hoping like it never will happen again because it sucked, man. A lot of band, did release a record during that time, and you don't have, the reaction of the people, when you play those songs, and also people coming to you sharing their story or their view of the songs, because
Right.
I think that it's your music until you release them to the world, then it's theirs, and
And it's
everybody.
everybody's. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That was definitely a bummer. And you know what? Like, undoubtedly, with that happening to us and like putting so much work into that record and doing that touring and that coming out, when I went and tracked this record and and all the songs that we have prepared for like the next fucking year and a half, 2 years of what we're trying to do, the start of it, like we released the first clip of the When We Were Young video, I think December of 2022, and we're in 2024, and everybody's like make at this point it's become a joke, like, okay, they're never releasing this song, but obviously for me it was like I have to have all the ducks in a row, and I'm doing this myself. Like I have some help from Spam Records in Europe, Avex in Japan, but here in the States it's like unless you have a million TikTok followers, like these labels aren't going to sign you. That's the thing. I think the labels are slowly learning that that doesn't turn into record sales. But so it's like we are still doing the DIY thing here in the States. Um, and there's a little bit of like hesitancy, like to put out the record because I'm like, okay, I have to have a tour lined up. I have to have financials ready to go to promote it. There's so much shit that you have to do when you're doing this DIY so that it doesn't fail. And there's people that are like, just fucking music's done, put it out. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. If I just do that, then that's done. And now where am I at? I got to go back, write another record. It's like you have to set everything up, and people don't realize that the behind the scenes shit, it's so much more than just a band recording some songs, making a video, and releasing it. There's so much more than that.
it's so true. It's so true. and it's weird. It's weird for like, cause like I love Spam. Been working with Stephen and the band on the label for the last 3 years, and what they're doing is like Epitaph, and they're
For
really
sure.
professional, and the lineup on the label is just insane now. It's so cool, and everybody's releasing like their masterpiece. But yeah, you're right. It's tough, and the thing is, I think we have the same problem, like covering like the States and Canada. It's such long drive compared to Europe, where you can travel really fast and
Right.
kind of play pre-show really quickly, then not losing that amount of gas and everything. So yeah, you're right, and it's a lot of pressure to build all that. So man, thank you for still doing it, and you know, not sleeping that much, Tony.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got a 2-year-old daughter and a 3-month-old son right now, and then a 9-year-old, 12-year-old, and 16-year-old. So, the wife's doing the newborn. I've got the 2-year-old. That's sort of how we're working this. So yeah, it's rough. But
Yeah, I've got a 3-year-old and I'm 42, and I've got one 16, and we got the twins. They're
so you
16.
got
So
four.
yeah, so yeah, and you know, at 42, it's not the same than getting your kids when you're 28. The energy
Right.
is not the same, you know.
You learn quickly, very quickly, that, like, hangovers don't work, and I did like a dry January, dry February, and it sort of went into like a dry March, which I always drink during the holidays. But like, fuck, like my friends came out and visited me this past a couple days ago, like, surprised I haven't seen them in years. And so we had some drinks that day, and then we went to Knott's to get Knott's Berry Farm. It's like a place here in California, roller coasters and shit. Had some drinks, and like that next day, after like 2 days of sort of drinking, I was like, fuck, man, I can't do this. I just can't, because I don't have it in me. Like, it's the hangovers. It's not even like the worst hangover either. It's just like that. You need that extra energy when you're at Rugrats and fucking, preteens and shit. And it's a different it's a different situation for sure.
I'm in the same situation as you.
Yeah.
I never drink that much when I start the year, so I did the 3 month, but we went to Seattle Storm Saturday, so I just have like two drinks, and you know, I felt that in the morning,
Right. I
and I
know.
remember why I always stop. Like, and last year I did 6 months, and I clearly remember my first hangover, and I said, "Damn, I can't do that."
I know. It sucks. It's fun to, like, have a good time, but that good time makes everything a lot rougher the next day for sure. But
Yeah, it's you know, without the kids, it's not the same thing. You're just like lazy and everything.
right,
But with the kids, like you need that energy. So you
right.
get
If
through
you
the
just
day
gotta,
and you get
yeah.
earlier to bed.
I mean, if you just gotta fend for yourself, it ain't no big deal. But yeah, you can't, like, kids gotta eat and shit. So you gotta get out of bed and feed these kids. You can't just eat some chips in bed and call it a day. That ain't how it works.
Yeah, wake up at 1 p.m. and eat
Right,
some chips for
right.
dinner.
Diapers
Um,
full of piss.
so there's a lot of show coming up. We talk about spam. There's the spam fest. The lineup is incredible. You're gonna play with bracket, man.
Yeah, they're like, that's reunion, right? Like, isn't
Yeah.
like
Yeah, they
like
don't do a
what
lot of shows.
is it really like 20 years, 25? Has it been that long or some shit, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
keep it. That's crazy. Yeah, man, like, obviously touring with Goldfinger from the beginning of our career and doing the records with John and stuff. Like, it's gonna be cool to do a show with them. I love the Mad Caddies. Always listen to them growing up. Love the Mad Caddies. But it's just cool. I mean, for us, like, to be a part of, like you were saying, with Spam, and it's like they've sort of honed in on that punk rock market there in Germany and Austria, and they're expanding it and becoming a brand, which is what every label wants to do. And so that was the thing, when we talked about doing this. It was originally started out with, like, just touring over there and jumping on those two festivals and stuff, um and then it was just this quick, simple conversation, like, yeah, you guys want to, put out this record? Like, should we work together and use, this touring and stuff like that to get the record going? And like you said, it's very professional, but at the same time, it's very much like, I'll just be texting Steven, like, all right, send over a contract. I'm like, all right, let's change this, let's change that. All right, cool. Like, it's just super simple and easy. Like, let's work together because I want to help your brand and you want to help the band. So like the more you work together, the better it is. And things like that always work out better. They always do, you know. So it's cool to be a part of that and to I mean to be able to play festivals in Europe, which this will be our first fucking festival we've ever played in Europe of 28 years of being in a band. So like to be doing this, you know, 28 years later is pretty awesome. I definitely appreciate the shit more than I guess I would have when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, we
But
grow up. And
yeah,
you mentioned the caddies. They're in the same situation. Like Chuck built a new lineup, and they're amazing, really amazing. It's because they got two French guy now. I think
yeah.
that's that
You think that's
new.
why?
No, but they're amazing. Yeah, I know a lot of people miss the old lineup. It's the same, but they're gonna love the show and then embrace it. And I just
So
see them.
who's in the
We
band now then? Is it just the singer and a bunch of new dudes? Because I mean, last time I saw him, I recognized a couple of the guys, but that was fuck maybe 5 years ago. Last time I saw the band.
Brendan from Authority Zero is there. He played with
Right.
Vulture Wake also.
Yeah.
You got Sean Seller from Good Riddance and all the band he played with. And yeah, you got two French guy that been I think yeah, they've been in the band for a couple of time now. So yeah.
Yeah. There was two guys that I recognized. I was at the back to the beach show that they were doing here in California. It was like only 2 or 3 years that the festival actually went on. But I saw two of the guys there and I was talking with Joe from the Vandals and he's like, "Hey, you guys know each other, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, like we actually played together when Mest was still not before we were even signed. I think it was like 97 or something when we were the band that like we got to open up for all the big bands coming through Chicago when we were in that stage of our career. We did it we got to open up for the Mad Caddies, which was pretty fucking cool for us back in the day.
Hell
Maybe
yeah.
25 years ago.
So the new single is out. Of course, people go listen to it. How's gonna be the rest of the years after the tour? And of course, is there any chance to have you back in Canada and Quebec?
um the single's out April 11th. Is this airing after is this I don't know when this is gonna air. I know it's sort of live for some shit and it's gonna
Yeah,
um
we're gonna be good.
okay, so yeah, the single's out. And I would love to come up there. I had trouble last time when we toured there with Real Big Fish in 2019. They just always ask me stupid questions and I tell them the honest answers and they don't believe me. And I'm like, you guys, I'm like, I don't have to tell you, man. I'm like, this isn't me. This is, and it's like they just get real serious about shit. So I was able to go in for a day. I remember it was like asylum. I was asylum, something like that. Like that's how I got through for one day. Had to pay a little bit of money, like always. But they did tell me if I don't, I have to get all that shit straightened out before I come there again. Otherwise, if I try to go in again, like I'll get banned for like 5 years. And it's like for like a DUI from 2010 or something. And I'm like, it's crazy, man. But so if we do get to come up there, I definitely got to straighten that out. I'm hoping we get to go everywhere, man. Like with Avex releasing our stuff in Japan, Spam helping us out in Europe, us here in the States. I'm like, I want to. We got to travel everywhere. You know what I mean? Like it's been a while. I don't even 5 years since Canada and stuff. So it definitely need to. We're working on the States here for the fall, and then I just got to figure out a way to incorporate us so I can sneaking up to the border and getting up there.
It pissed me off so bad because you can't get to Europe like no problems, and they see it on your like
Right.
passport, and then you're like, no, you're not allowed because Canada, we're different. We're
I
like,
know.
and it's
We're-
it's really weird because right now, like, it's really easy for immigrants to get in Canada, and it's a good thing. We need them, but in a way, it's weird that they if you want to work in Canada, like they don't really
Right.
check your background, like not like a couple of years ago, but if you play in a band which you work, you cannot like enter for weed possessions like 6 years ago, even if it's legal now. Like they screwed up with people a little bit too much.
For sure. I mean, they could clearly like go onto social media sites and look up my name and be like, okay, here's this dude. He's been in this band for this long. Oh, he was in Canada 5 years ago. Dude's got 5 kids. He's coming into the country to work, and then he's gonna fucking leave. Like it's real simple on paper, but I know it's just, and we're practically like fucking stepbrothers. You know what I mean? Like our countries are fucking. It's one and the same. There's just a fucking line going across, man. That's the only difference. Like. I don't know, man. It is what it is. But if we get offers and we have the opportunity to come up there, there's a festival that you guys do every year, and we've been asked a couple times. I don't know why it hasn't worked out. Um, I think MXPX did it last year, maybe
Foods
Goldfinger
of
too.
Fest. No.
It's it's
Oh, it maybe Rock Lacos. This
it's like
year
a
is some 41 that gonna do Rock Lacos. There's a couple there. Envolé Macadam. There's the Foods of Fest. There, Music for Cancer, maybe. Yeah, Music for
Music for
Cancer.
Cancer.
Yeah, J
That's the
J
one. We've
Pina.
been asked to do that a couple times, and then like I don't know if I didn't respond in time or something for the last time, and the other time I think financially just wasn't working. But maybe if those guys are listening, we want to come up to Canada.
J.
Fucking bring us up, you know?
Yeah, and actually he owed me one. He broke a lamp
There you
drunk
go.
like 10 years ago.
All right, well,
It's
tag
sober
that
now.
dude. Tell him to get us up there.
Yeah, yeah, we have to work something. And I remember I used to work with Alex Mardell at the Rockfest, and we used to have like lawyers that, find a kind of way to get banned and deal the thing because it's not a big thing, it's just sometimes just finding the right paper, filling it in time and just pay the
Yeah, I
fucking
know what
paying
it
it.
is with my bullshit. It's that it shows that I have two DUIs and I don't. And I'm like, look, this is the day that I was arrested. And I go, and then this is when I had to go to court the first time. I go, there's no way that I could have those two DUIs because it would have turned into something where you can't have two that close. Like you get fucked. I'm like, that's all this is, dude. And like, I even like, I know a cop in LA and I was like, hey, I need you to give me some papers and shit on this to show that I fucking didn't, like that's all it is. It's just a headache though. But yeah, like I said, if we get an offer to come up there, I'll definitely get that shit sorted and show 'em my
We
5 kids and be like, dude, it's good. I'm just coming into work, bro. Like that's it, man.
yeah, use the little one. Like, oh, he's so cute. Oh,
Oh,
come on.
I
You
did
gotta do
last
it.
time. I did because on my phone I have my son. Like every year that uh,
Wow.
that's like that's sort of creepy because it's gonna get creepy when he's like 18. But at 6:53 a.m. every year I take a photo of him sleeping, and I have it since he was obviously a baby. So the progression. So as I was literally showing that to the immigration officer. I'm like, dude, look. I'm like, I'm trying to feed this kid. Like, can you cut me some slack, dude? And like, I guarantee, I think that was like the turning point for him being like, okay, I'll let you in after you give me $250.
Tony, thank you for your time. We really have to do a part two later when the album's gonna be released. People go encourage the band, buy merch. We're gonna put some link below. Thank you, man. Have fun on tour, and of course we're gonna wait. And yeah, man, if you need anything, just write me. I'm gonna put you in touch with Jay and everybody for something. It would be rad.
Cool, man. Appreciate that, man. Nice talking to you.
Thank you. Bye bye, Tony.
Later,
Cheers.
bud.
No more inhibition, set yourself free. Just let go, that's my only plea. I confront frustration and